Today, I'm going to give you a big secret that most musicians overlook, even though it's hiding in plain sight. And it can have a huge impact on how much the audience enjoys your playing, and it can really affect how much you enjoy playing yourself. Hi, I'm Morley-Fletcher from Play in the Zone, and I'm here to bring you regular tips on how to improve as a musician much faster and to enjoy your playing much more by developing your mindset and mental skills. When we're thinking about practicing music, most of us tend to default to the idea that it's all about getting the notes right, and that's the thing we've got to really completely focus on. But if you take a step back and look at it, the notes are not an end in themselves. They're merely the means that you use to communicate something to your listeners. And that's what's really important. And when you remember that and start to look at things in that way, there are all sorts of subtle shifts and insights that you'll get about what really matters and how to bring that out. And while you're watching, make sure to like, share and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. So what's the point of music? It's about really communicating something to your audience first and foremost. And playing things correctly is only important in as much as it helps you to communicate that thing, that emotion that you want to get across. Now, that doesn't mean to say that it's completely irrelevant, because of course, if you get all the notes wrong, then the meaning of what you're trying to get across, the emotion, is going to be totally lost. But what's really important here is that individual little glitches, individual minor imperfections are much less important than we tend to think about in the practice room when it comes to actually performing. Because as long as you keep going, as long as you keep putting that intention into it and give your audience that overall sweep of the piece of the music that you're playing, tiny little glitches are soon forgotten and often overlooked altogether. Now, where this can go wrong though is if you let some little imperfections change exactly what you're communicating. Now, as we've said, that could be if one mistake gets you feeling nervous and worried about making more, and you get a bit of a chain reaction going and everything goes downhill. But another way that I often see it happening is we make a little mistake. It's nothing really as far as the audience are concerned, but it gets there inside your mind and you're thinking you're frustrated about this. You think you're spoiling things. You think you're not playing as well as you would like, or you start to doubt yourself. And you go out of the moment, you forget about the purpose being to communicate that joyful music to the audience, and it becomes very inward facing, and you start thinking about your experience. Am I good enough? Am I disappointed in my playing? And what could have been something that we've glossed over then becomes something that actually really does have an impact. And the important thing to note here is when you go inside and you start to think about your experience, you're definitely going to be damaging the experience that the audience is having of what you're playing as well. So the key takeaway here is that when you reduce your reaction to mistakes, when you change your reaction to mistakes in the moment of performing, you're generally going to be improving the experience for the audience. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be worrying about mistakes and looking to fix them in practice, because of course that is exactly the time when you want to work on those little technical details, all those things, so that fewer of them are going to happen in the performance. And absolutely, the fewer mistakes we make, the easier it might be to communicate that feeling that we want. Just don't get carried away in performance and think that one or two little glitches that come in there have ruined it. And this is the other thing that I see. So when your attitude to mistakes change, when you remember that actually it's all about communicating in that big picture, it helps the audience. But so many musicians I see, and I've been very much the case with this in the past, it's really easy to play what's actually a very good performance overall with 2 or 3 mistakes in there, and to forget all that good stuff, but to get hung up on what's going on with those mistakes, and you magnify them in your mind. They become much bigger things. You think you've completely messed up the piece and you beat yourself up about it. And this is totally unnecessary, just for your own enjoyment in this case, because there's probably the vast majority of it was really good playing. And yet one or two little glitches can lead to us really getting down on ourselves, and that's such a waste, because the whole point of music is, yes, to communicate stuff to the audience and give them a great time, but hopefully you're doing it because you really enjoy playing as well. So don't deny yourself that by getting overly picky about little mistakes. And that doesn't mean that you can't make an intention to go back and correct them in practice later. It just means that don't judge the whole performance by one or two glitches. And a great way to remember that this is not such a big deal is to remember that actually audiences are not going to notice mistakes a lot of the time, certainly not going to react to them that strongly, even when they do notice them. And one thing that really brought this home to me was when I first started out playing at jazz jam sessions, getting up, improvising solos, and I was very new to it. I was learning a new thing, and I would constantly mess things up, do things that I didn't want to do, or totally fail to do the thing that I was aiming for. And my initial reaction to that was to literally just stop and stand there and freeze for a bit, stop playing before carrying on. And what amazed me was not just as I got a bit more comfortable with it, that I would see that as long as I didn't give away that I thought I'd made a mistake, most people wouldn't notice it. So much of any understanding of a mistake or not was actually whether I gave out all these other signals to tell people, yeah, that's a mistake here, stop, look at the mistake. But actually, strangely enough, even on some of those times when I had reacted in a really out there way and just kind of frozen up, I could see that actually some people hadn't even noticed it at that point. So it just goes to show how much bigger these things are in our minds than they are in the mind of the audience. So I think it's really important that you get this attitude set up where you remember that it's all about communicating, and that is the big thing that matters. Because when you do that, you will enjoy your playing much more, and you'll play with a lot more freedom. And the great thing is, when you do that, the audience will pick up on this. They'll see that enjoyment, they'll see that freedom, they'll have a better experience as well, and everyone wins. Now, digging deeper into exactly what your attitude to mistakes is a huge part of this. So I definitely recommend checking out my video on that next. And if you like the special practice and performance tips that I only share with subscribers, then head on over to playinthezone.com and sign up for the emails. They're free. I've been Morley-Fletcher. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.